Welcome back in. Alright, so this is our second session of the Final Fantasy VII scripting. We are playing through Final Fantasy VII, the Steam version through the 7th Heaven mod manager, and we are going at a very slow pace, focusing on the story, but specifically on the writing of this specific version, and we are essentially compiling all of the dialogue into what is the beginning bones of a screenplay. So that is the mission at hand. Last night we went from the beginning up through the bombing mission and got back to Sector 7. And that is where we ended. So we're back at it again tonight. Should get a decent pace tonight. I think we got about 1,300 words last night in about an hour and a half. So let's see if we can maybe increase our pace a little bit. And again, we are just going through the storyline here on this playthrough. We're not worried about going around and talking to all of the other NPCs. We're just focused on the plot and the dialogue that here pertaining to the plot. I think that's how you spell my mate's name. We'll see in a second. Oh, I bet it's E-N-E. That just felt right all of a sudden. Yep. And there it is on the screen. I'm trying to remember. I don't think at this point Cloud has even mentioned Tifa back at the bar, which is why her name is not listed at the top, which the game allows you to choose the characters' names, so it will not lock that in yet. So that is confirmation that Tifa has not been mentioned yet. This reaction here by Marlene keys us further into the fact that Cloud is a stranger to most of these people. We get that very early on, right, with Biggs and Jesse's conversation about Cloud and how he's technically part of Soldier, or was part of Soldier, the enemy of Avalanche, so he hasn't been around long. I think what Barrett's first words is to call him newcomer, right? So we're getting the sense that Cloud has not been around very long. Tifa, in her first 2 lines of dialogue here, calls Cloud by name, keying us in as a new viewer, or reader in this case. Clues us into they have a past, and we're going to dive into that past very quickly. The game really takes its time here to establish their prior relationship. So, just a very interesting way of letting us know right off the bat. Tifa knows Cloud. I always choose not this time. I don't know why. Maybe I want Tifa to be proud. I feel like, though, even her response to that is a little knowing, right? There is a little bit of cheekiness there. Again, sort of leaning into that familiarity. Okay, so there's a couple of different ways to take this. Number one, if she's being sincere, it is showing that they have a history. She obviously had seen him prior to him growing up, and for him to show that maturity, it shows growth, right? But I like to read it as, again, a little bit of cheekiness on Tifa's part, and essentially calling him childish in general, right? Like, you're not supposed to fight necessarily, unnecessarily, with your superiors, but with your peers. And her expecting that to be the case, and then kind of chiding him a little bit with, hey, you've actually grown up. And right immediately after I said what I said, she actually does delve into childhood when you were little. Let's go around here and see what folks have to say. And even though I said I'm not going around and getting ambient dialogue, I still, in these in-between cutscene moments, especially with NPCs that are directly involved with the plot at the moment, I really want to chronicle if there are little pieces of exposition or explanations about the world or about the teammates, things like that. So we're gonna chronicle them, try to exhaust them as well. Wedge is always giving us some optional dialogue. Last night I mentioned at least whenever I play normally, I tend to sort of roleplay Cloud here at the beginning and give the more abrupt, colder answers, unless it's like with Aerith and Tifa, and then I can't help but give the warmer answers, the polite answers. But with the Biggs and Wedge, I'll give colder. I don't know if I will here. I'm kind of curious to see what he has to say. Seventh Heaven, famous around Sector 7. I wonder if it's famous around other sectors as well. Oh, this one actually will let me double up. Interesting. Now, unfortunately for Wedge, that means the last thing he'll remember about this is we were rude as heck to him. Is that a bottle of Mountain Dew right there? Is that why he's all squirmy? Oh, my man's already a little tipsy. We saw this a little bit with Barrett in last night's episode as well. Very early on here, Cloud's obviously presenting a persona, a tough soldier persona. And there are a few comments that he makes specifically on the train that for Barrett, it was surprising at how thoughtful Cloud was, as he's appeared to be very gruff and abrupt. And now with this response, it's surprising Biggs that he's sort of willing to kick it back, because again, he's played it very straight so far. I also like this because Biggs getting tipsy is getting very bold. He's not quite as infatuated with Cloud as Wedge is, naturally. So getting a little bit of alcohol in his system, and he's gonna toughen up to Cloud a little bit. But then he catches himself. Really good, really good. Sit down, she says. Her line here expressing concern, and wow, that TV is going absolutely bonkers in the background. Definitely a graphical glitch. Jeez. Her line here expressing some concern for her childhood friend and Cloud. And once the bigger reveals of this game come out later on, her concern toward him makes way more sense, right? But it's interesting that they sort of pepper that concern in here in using the guise of childhood friend, right? But there's really something else going on here that's driving her concern, and that is one reason that Cloud is a little confused by her level of concern. He's obviously, again, playing it tough. A little bit more concern. And specifically with the way he's feeling. And he doesn't know why. The news showing the blast from Sector 1. Interesting line here from Jesse, especially given the context that the remake really leans into, that attempts to sort of repaint these attacks as being intentionally heightened by Shinra Corp, and the extent of the damage is not necessarily intentional on Avalanche's part. But even back in the original here, Jesse seems unsure if something went wrong, right? Was that all because of my bomb? I really did make it like the computer told me. So that seems to insinuate that the extent of the damage was not... She did not intend that. President Shinra has announced that he has released Soldier onto Avalanche, trying to find the perpetrators. So reasonable that Barrett would want to ask Cloud about that. Because if Soldier had been on this bombing mission, then Barrett's like, okay, well maybe having Soldier after us won't be that big of a deal. And Cloud is about to probably not dispel his fear. Not only not dispelling Barrett's fear, but confirming it, right? But I think the interesting thing here is that Barrett's not... I don't think Barrett is scared for himself. If you remember back in the train car when they're waiting for Cloud to get back to rejoin them, there's a little bit of subtlety in Barrett's responses where it seems like he was obviously concerned for Cloud's safety. In him reassuring the other team that Cloud was okay, it was almost like he was reassuring himself that Cloud was okay. So Barrett is the type of leader that really, really cares for the well-being of his teammates. And so here it's like he's nervous that Soldier's being sicked onto his group, right? His family, the people that he loves. So yeah, that's where the fear is. It's a little bit of anxiety about what is he getting them into, you know? He wants to protect the planet, but he's also become so close with these individuals. And again, like he has done before, he's not sure how to express, you know, the complex emotions that he's thinking. He's reverting to essentially accusing Cloud of potential double crossing, right? Falling back on his alliance with Shinra. And it seems pretty obvious right here that that is an empty accusation. Again, he's covering up for his anxiety about the upcoming mission, about the well-being of his team. It probably also frustrates Barrett that, again, especially with President Shinra's announcement, he is concerned about his team and Cloud is concerned about money. It might be that, you know, he doesn't have enough to pay Cloud. We'll see that in a second. But it also could be that deep down, he is hoping that, like himself, even though he has this real gruff exterior, he's really bonded with Avalanche, the members of Avalanche, and so he was probably deep down hoping that Cloud would as well. And with Cloud reverting to, I want my money, again, has to hit Barrett not in the best way possible. A little continued characterization of like Cloud's detachment, or his exterior detachment, what he's projecting as detachment. He made it very clear early on that he did not care about Avalanche. He did not care about the members of the team. He did not care about people's names. He was just there for the job. Now he's really professing and exclaiming that he does not care about Shinra or Soldier. So essentially his past, he's detached. It's his way of seeming together. Exactly, and he's going to fall back on I don't care about Avalanche either. And he doesn't care about the planet. Also something that he mentioned earlier in the elevator, I believe it was, not my problem. He doesn't care about anything. Love this line here from Tifa. I imagine her, it's not a whisper, but she's dropped her tone, right? She's dropped her voice so that only Cloud can hear. And it's a plea, it's a plea. Again, I feel like this really connects with their backstory, with like their prior connection. She's pleading with him like a true friend, like, please make this work, right? And I can also visualize Cloud begrudgingly, like, give her a single nod, completely deadpan, but her plea pierces that hard exterior. Alright, let's see. Is Wedge gonna ask us something else? Cloud regrets coming over here so much. And interestingly here, both options are slightly negative. One, though, is pretty antagonistic, and then the other is so apathetic. So to stay consistent with the rest of the scene, we're going to go with the I don't care again. And that gets a pretty sad response from Wedge. I mean, there is a real combination of responses you can give him in this early part of the game that you could really see it as like Wedge's like a villain origin, right? I also like that this line isn't Cloud, you just want to be friends, which I feel like would have also been in character with Wedge, as the adoring fan, and he's shown nothing but like puppy level of excitement about Cloud and infatuation with Cloud. So I think it would have been in character for him to say, you just want to be friends. And while that would have been in character for Wedge, I think that also it would have come across as really naive, whereas this, you just want friends, I think is very insightful. So that's just a little interesting piece of character there. That response gets, it produces another really, really good piece of insight. So like those two lines, you just want friends, isn't that right? Yeah, you look kind of lonely to me. Very insightful from Wedge. Especially as the very obvious like humor character. And then we get this. Really get an offering of friendship, and not in like the adoring fan way like we've seen previously from Wedge. it really is this this reaching out of one human to another. Very interesting. And then I think this gives us a kind of a funny line here about money. Yeah, it's like Cloud went over there because, again, I don't know, there's a lot of comedy in that, dark comedy in this interaction, because we had asked Barrett about the money. He's obviously not in the right headspace to talk about money. Then we have Tifa say to patch things up, and then to turn around and immediately ask Jesse about money. Just very interesting, comedic, and like, she's also, let's remember, she's not in a great mental state, because even though she was proud about the bomb, she's also a little concerned that she may have messed something up and like really caused some damage, killing people and causing way more destruction than she meant to. And then because of that, Shinra's putting Soldier out. Again, everyone is just, there's a lot of anxiety about like, what did we just do, right? Like, we knew what we were trying to do, but did we just really step in it? So again, a little bit of a dark comedy moment here for me. We don't get a title on this box. I am pretty sure this is Tifa though, because again, she asked to patch. She asked Cloud to patch things up, and then he turns around and asks about money. So I really like that coming from Tifa. Tifa's really leaning into the familiarity again here, potentially building off of the everything that she talked about before, like really reminding him of their prior connection, so that then, I mean, it's possible, not in necessarily a manipulative way, but like she's just really wanting to sort of give her ace card here and try to get him to join them. A little bit of motivation there for him. And the reason I say that is, I mean, we're about to see right here, she's about to use the friend card for sure, without a doubt. So someone has to do something. I can't think of a more opposite reaction. And again, remember that she was not on the mission. So Barrett has presented this very passionate case for the planet, and Cloud just completely shuts it down. I don't care about the planet. So one of these, obviously defensive and deflective, and then one of these, there's an admission. It was 7 years ago. Cloud always leaving her. This man had a vision. He's like, I will make this happen. The best there is, like Sephiroth, more like Wolverine. Yep, I just wanted to confirm. Our first official mention of Sephiroth. We'll talk a lot more about Sephiroth later, but just very interesting. This is the very first mention in a flashback scene where Cloud is looking up to this character and wanting to emulate this character and the character's feat. So we will obviously see in the story how that might change, but an interesting first impression for Sephiroth, especially again considering the context of Remake's first impression of Sephiroth. We also really need to remember this conversation, because this was the last time they spoke together in a very long time. 7 years. This is the Cloud that she remembers. This is the Cloud that she has the image of. is this the Cloud that comes back to Midgar and goes on the bombing mission? I would say it probably, from her perspective, is not a very different person, which we will see means something. Again, there are going to be spoilers as we do this. If you're watching me script this game, I would assume you have played it before, because this is a very unentertaining way of consuming this piece of media. But I think it's fun, number one, and I really like going this pace to sort of dig in from an analytical perspective, which is my background in English literature. This is really a sad line here. The shake of the head and I'm not famous and I'm not a hero. And the I'm not a hero is sad on multiple levels because of the persona that he is presenting. Is a persona whose dream was to be a hero. It feels like a defeated persona, if you will. Then it's me. I think it's also interesting that that is called Barrett's stash. It's not called Cloud's stipend. It's not called Cloud's salary. And we're about to see in a second. Again, when I was talking about earlier, like, one of Barrett's hesitations could be because he doesn't have enough money to pay Cloud. And we're seeing here that may actually be reality. He just gave Cloud something called Barrett's stash, which makes me think that that's all Barrett's got. Again, Tifa here with just a really pleading tone. You can tell that she is used to keeping everyone together. If we haven't gotten enough subtext that Barrett is not just this meathead, this one will do it. He's taking money out of Marlene's education funds. We've officially slept in the basement here. Oops, Barrett's snorting. Now, I believe that our second option here will give us a dating point for Tifa later on, but again, I typically roleplay Cloud as his gruff self. Alright, so we mentioned a few minutes ago how Barrett is very anxious right now because President Shinra has made the announcement that he's sicking Soldier onto this small organization, and Barrett has probably recruited all of these people into this mission. They've successfully gone on one mission, and because it caused more destruction than they were hoping or expecting, now Barrett's in a situation where he cares for these people, and he's put them in a lot of danger. And I think he's really coming to realize just how much danger he's put them in. Alright, so we hit the Sector 1 reactor last time. And now we're going Sector 5. Notice that they're not going Sector 7 reactor. We don't need Final Fantasy School, okay? I will take this save point though. Oh no. No, you're covering it up. Oh no. We're gonna give Barrett the benefit of the doubt here that he doesn't punch this innocent man, and he punches the railing next to the business person. Bear was about to literally tear that man's head off. This guy is literally messing up the plans though. Again, they are essentially fugitives. Their identities have not been compromised yet though, so they're not in danger yet, but they're supposed to discuss the plans on the plane, so they can't really. Now, if we will remember, we we did this with Jessie just last night. Well, we're gonna do it with Sifa tonight. She can tell. Things have gone awry. Oh yeah, the music's kicking in now. Oh no! Hands are sweating right now. This is so intense. We've got to jump. We've got to jump. Sharpie, does she look good in a Shinra uniform? Yes or no? Well, tell Bob I'm sorry that I couldn't give that to him. And as we've been saying all night, Barrett acts tough, but deep down he likes Cloud. He likes Cloud. And he also, of course, wants the mission to go well, but he wants Cloud to be okay. Goes back to the last time we were in the train car and everyone was worried about him. A little bit of comedy here from the writers. Everything's going as planned. Love to see it. Again, from a writing perspective, we've had sort of an interesting flow to the game so far, where obviously the bombing mission, right out the gate, you're starting this game high intensity all throughout the sort of the remainder of that, and then you have that little downtime in Seventh Heaven, a lot of character moments, and then you have immediately that huge set piece there with a lot of intense action and red blinking lights that make your room go crazy. But now we kind of go at the beginning of this sequence, we've kind of come back down, even though we're still on the job. There's a line though that I want from Jessie. I think she might be up here. I want to make sure that I get this. Love this piece of dialogue here. This characterization of Jessie. Like, she's so earnest. She's so earnest. We saw her in the Avalanche hideout stressing out over making the bomb too good and thinking that she messed up. She was proud of it, but she was worried that she had caused too much damage on accident by doing a miscalculation. And then she knew in the train, when the blinking lights were going, she knew she had messed up. She even alludes to that. I'll explain later. So she's so earnest and hates messing up. She hates messing up. And this line here saying, I did my best, but I failed. Absolutely brutal. Absolutely brutal. She's really kicking herself. So that was interesting. So last night, there was a piece of dialogue that I wasn't too sure what she meant, because I think the execution of the dialogue was a little odd. But if we come back up here, it's after her big monologue on the train, and then next time I'll make one just for you. And if you say, okay, so she says, I know, next time I'll make one just for you, meaning an ID. They've been talking about fake IDs. I'll make an ID just for you, and if you say looking forward to it, she'll say, after talking with you, I'm ready to try. She's ready to try modifying the ID as a gift for Cloud. And then that is what caused the problem. I modified your ID card, and that's what did it. She was trying to make a custom one for Cloud and messed up. So we are going to save and sign off. Thank you everyone who stopped in and chatted for a bit and followed along this crazy journey as we script out Final Fantasy VII in order to format it into a screenplay later on, getting all of the dialogue of the main plot. At the moment, slow and steady, 3,600 words total. So anyway, yes, thank you everyone for stopping in and watching. This has been scripting out Final Fantasy VII, slowly but surely, and looking at the writing, talking about the story as we go. We will be back at it probably tomorrow night, so I will see you then.